Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Tolly Frimpong, and on this channel I document and share my financial freedom journey with you guys. So on this channel I talk about how to live your best life on a budget. If you're a returning subscriber, you're going to see that my background is very different to the usual setup that I have, and that's because I'm outside in the garden on a pallet corner sofa that I made. So we actually made this pallet corner sofa last year with my husband last summer, and the reason why I actually did it is because we got our garden done last year and I really wanted to get the rattan garden furniture. I don't know if you know what the rattan garden furniture is, but I'll insert pictures of what that looks like, and that's what I really wanted to buy. But because we had spent so much doing over the garden, my husband was like, no way are we spending that much on garden furniture. He's like, if you want to do it, then find a way to make it happen. And it's so funny that, you know, when you actually challenge yourself to find creative ways of doing things, your mind just starts working. So what I did is I went on Pinterest and I started researching and looking at alternative ways to create garden furniture on a budget, and that's where I came across pallet furniture. I didn't even know that that was actually a thing, but on Pinterest I just saw loads and loads of different pictures of garden furniture made out of pallets, and it's basically upcycled pallets, and I was like, yes, that's something I can do. And because of the nature of the work that my husband does, he's able to get access to pallets quite frequently. So over the course of a few weeks he was literally bringing pallets home, and that's what we then use as the base for these sofas that you see here. And then I made the cushion covers for it as well. I did a blog post last year actually documenting the whole process of making this garden furniture, but I thought now that I'm on YouTube it'd be good to actually share a video of how the whole thing was made. And I actually recorded it when I was making it last year, funnily enough, and I wanted to upload it onto a channel, but I didn't have my channel back then and I didn't have a clue how to edit. So I had all the content and it's been on my hard drive for over a year, and now's the time that I'm finally bringing it out and sharing it with you. So this is basically a quick intro just to give you a bit of background as to what this video is about and how this furniture came about. In today's video I'm going to be doing a tutorial and showing you how to make this pallet corner sofa, so stay tuned for the tutorial. Please do like, comment and subscribe, and without further ado I'm going to get into the tutorial for you right now. Okay, so first of all you're going to need pallets. So we use a total of 18 pallets to make our coffee table, cuddler sofa and corner sofa. So 3 pallets were used for the coffee table, 3 pallets for the cuddler sofa, and 12 pallets were used in total to make the corner sofa. You can usually pick up pallets from DIY stores or builders' yards for free, and there's also people on websites like Gumtree and FreeCycle literally trying to get rid of pallets. If you're not able to get them via these avenues, you can also pick them up online. I'll leave the link in the description bar below to some on eBay, which are very cheap. In addition to the pallets, you'll also need an impact driver. You could alternatively use a power drill if you don't have an impact driver. You'll need some screws. You'll need a lot of screws actually at different lengths. You'll need a multi-tool. That's the tool we use at least anyway, to sand down the pallets, but any other sanding tool that you have will do the job as well. You'll also need work gloves, obviously, to protect your hands, and a dust mask for the same reason. A hammer, a floorboard lifter, a fence brush, a plastic bowl, boiled linseed oil, hard wax oil and fence paint. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is prep the area in which you plan to build the pallet corner sofa. So tidy up the area, make sure it's all nicely swept and you have space to actually build the sofa. And once you've cleaned the area, then you can proceed with actually arranging the pallets in the position that you want to have them once the build is complete. Alas, my vision is coming to life. You can see it taking shape here, which is great. The next step is to fill in the spaces on the cuddler sofa and on the table. So as you can see, the table where my husband's just put the saw, there's two big spaces, which obviously won't make the table very usable if we left it that way. So he's basically pulling up some of the spare planks on the spare pallet, and he's going to fill in the spaces. So you just saw him put one on the cuddler sofa, and he's going to put a few more on the cuddler sofa and also on the table. He's going to fill in the space to ensure that there's no more gaps. One thing I should mention here is that you should really be gentle when you're trying to pull the planks away from the pallet. That's in order to avoid splitting the plank, as you can see my husband did here. So yeah, you want to be gentle when you're using the floorboard lifter and the hammer to pull the two apart. Now that he's got enough spare planks to fill in the gaps, I tried to zoom in so you can see what he's doing here, but basically he's using the hammer to take out all the nails in the planks that he's removed from the pallet. So he's using the hammer to knock them out and pull them out so that the pallets don't have all those bended nails left in them. Sorry, my memory card became full, so I had to finish off the recording on my phone, and I recorded in portrait instead of landscape, which is why it looks the way it looks. So the planks that he removed from the other pallet were too big for the cuddler sofa, so they're going to need to be cut down to size. So you can see here he's measuring up the planks against the cuddler sofa to see how much he needs to take off. He used the saw to measure it out and used the pencil to mark where he's now going to use the saw to cut along. So next thing you want to do is secure the back of the seat to the seat itself using the impact driver and screws. Make sure the screws are quite long so that they can go all the way through the back of the pallet and the seat of the pallet, because if they're too short, what you'll find is that when you go to move the sofa, the two pieces come apart because it hasn't actually been secured together. Just a quick note to mention actually, when you're securing the pieces together for the corner sofa, I'd recommend building them as separate pieces rather than building it as one long continuous piece. And the reason I say this is because let's say you want to move it somewhere else in the garden, it will be very heavy trying to move the big massive pallet as one piece, whereas if you had it as 4 separate sofa pieces just pushed together, it will be easy to transport it wherever you want to move it to in the garden. So once he'd finished securing all the pieces of the pallets together, the next thing he did was sand down all the pallets in one go. One thing I would say, if I could do this again, I'll do differently, is pre-sanding all of the pieces before assembling the pallet, as opposed to doing it when the pallet's already been built into the sofa, because it just makes it a lot more harder to actually sand down the pieces when it's all already fixed in its position. Unfortunately, we actually lost some footage, so the footage of him sanding down the pallet is no longer there, as is the footage of him preparing the pallets before painting. So before painting the pallets, he used the paintbrush to cover the pallets in a heavy coat of linseed oil, and then he left that for a few hours for the oil to be able to sink into the pallets. And then after giving the oil time to soak in, he wiped off all the leftovers with a soft cloth. After he'd done that, he used the brush to paint a light coat of hard wax oil onto the pallets, and the reason he done all of this is to protect the pallets and to make them a lot more durable. So the final step of the process is to paint the pallet corner sofa. So we decided to paint it a dark shade of brown. In hindsight, guys, what we should have done is pre-painted the pallets, done all of the prep work before assembling it, because it was a lot more difficult to paint when the pallets were assembled as sofas. So I think if we were to do the project again, that's definitely what we would do. So I would recommend, if you are going to do this project, do prep the pallets before assembling them. So do all of the applying of the linseed oil and the wax, and then the painting before assembling your sofa. I think you'll be able to get a much neater and cleaner finish than we were able to achieve if you do it that way. So that's literally it for part 1 of the tutorial, guys. That's how we made our pallet corner sofa. In part 2 of the tutorial, I'll talk you through how we made the seat covers, but that's literally it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it at all helpful. Also, share it with a friend. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you're going to try and attempt to make your own. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.